So you may have seen this puzzle of mine that I created about a couple weeks ago, maybe 1 week ago. The object of the game here is to follow the gas coming in, and you spin the valves to determine which direction it goes. And then you're trying to light all four of these corners. All the corners of the puzzle here need to light up, and you can only do that by arranging these 6 valves in certain ways. And I thought that was a really cool puzzle that I came up with, but then I decided to go all out as the best DM in the world, and we have this. This is a model that I created specifically for this puzzle. This is what happens when you go all out for a visualization. And so what actually is happening here is we got this propane tank, and when turned on, it'll lead through all these little hoses and valves. Right now everything's closed off, so you would have to open the valves in order. Of course, I couldn't find these specific valves I needed for these tiny little gas lines without paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars, so I decided I'm just going to buy these little 4-way tank valves for fish. They're fish tank valves, but no matter. I just ended up making a little disc here that you could spin and pretend. So they'll manipulate this, but I'll actually be manipulating these actual valves. So when the gas goes through the lines, when it gets to one of the 4 corners, here's one of the corners, it'll spit out propane and light on up. Now, in order for me to get it to automatically light up, I had to add this little extension here, which is just a smaller version of hoses. They go around, and they have these little throttle valves here. These little throttle valves allow me to just always have them on, so before we start the match, I'll have these little things lit up with the lights dimmed down and the fire showing in the 4 corners. Of course, I don't think they're gonna expect when they turn one of these valves that just poof, a big old cloud of propane fire explodes and starts shooting off. The idea is that they're in a engine, and they got to get the engine running. And while the engine is broken, the undead army is attacking them, and they're gonna have to climb up into the reactor first. Here's the entrance, and then in the middle here is supposed to be fuel. And there's 2 different sections. There's the small section here and the big section here. You fall down there, you got to get up there. There's a way to get up inside the little one too. And then over here we have the broken rung ladder. That is the exit, also where the undead are coming from and how they're getting in. So they could probably find out some smart things to do to stop them. But yeah, that's the whole thing. We got these little toothpicks here. One is like they're supposed to be like rungs to get up, but also it's an indication of how many steps it takes to get up. So for instance, over here, that takes 1 because there's 1 toothpick. There's 2 on that one, so that's 2 toothpicks, right? And so on and so forth. So that's it. These little valves mimic the actual puzzle, which is this here. So if you were to kind of look at it from this perspective, you got the fuel line coming in, and then that's your first valve. So that would be this first valve here. And then as you kind of zoom out, it kind of replicates it. Of course, it's going to be really hard to do without this sheet. So this sheet is kind of going to be supplied for them as a prop. Maybe they'll find it if they use their out of the combat skills. But that's it. The model is pretty large. If you reference the size of my table, which is a very large table, probably 2.5 yards on each dimension, and this one takes up the center, so it's about a yard squared. So that's a pretty good amount of size. Hope they like it. If this doesn't excite you about D&D, I don't know what will.